Okay, welcome back. We're going to continue with our Raw Drums series here. And if you've managed to pop in midway through, what we have here is a drum kit which is recorded in a rehearsal room. It's a very basic mic setup. It's just kick, snare, tom, left and right overhead, and hi-hat. And that is all we were given to work with. Now, in an earlier video, I just did some quick EQ. And really, that is about it. So it's a very realistic representation of the kind of tracks you're likely to be working with if you're not getting tracks from a great studio. Now, the first situation we run into with drums like this is we only have one snare mic, and we're literally just getting the top of the snare. Now, what I did do is EQ the snare and put in a bunch of like 5.7 dB of 8K. So I added some brightness, and that does kind of help you get that little bit more of that snare bottom feeling, but it's never really enough. So let's have a quick listen. So it's not terrible, but we're going to quickly look at a couple of techniques we can do to improve our situation. And I'm going to duplicate the snare track here. And then we're just going to call this SS for snare sample. And what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to try a couple plugins, which I want to quickly show you now. This is a cool one. It has one purpose in life, and that is to simulate the bottom of a snare. So if we solo this, let's have a listen. And as we hear, it gives you that almost staticky under snare mic. And all I did here was put it to full mix wet. And you can go ahead and tweak these controls a little bit. So it's not super bright and offensive. And also, for me, I would EQ a snare bottom and put some low end. So I'm just going to roll this high pass back. Okay. Sounds like crap by itself, but let's see what happens when we put it in with a kit. So. And we can hear that versus and we can already hear that sounds a hell of a lot more like a better recorded snare drum. Okay, so that's the first technique that I would use to help fix that problem. Now, if we have another option here, and we're going to use our good friend trigger. So, and we could use, let's use mono in this case. And there we have glorious slate trigger. And we're just going to basically grab a snare. I typically would pick a snare which is as close as possible to our existing snare drum. But just for the purpose of this, I'm just going to grab the closest one, and we see here this sample it's a multi-sample. It's got a whole bunch of different things, and all we're going to go ahead and do is knock out absolutely all of the things which make up this sample and just keep the snare bottom. And okay, we're just going to adjust the level so it triggers and turn up the retrigger, which will prevent flams. And let's put that in and see what that sounds like. So there you go. That's 2 ways to improve the sound of a single mic'd drum kit, the kind you're likely to get from a rehearsal room or where they have maybe just 8 inputs on an interface. So there we go.